Hi, I'm Mindie Burgoyne, and this is Fridays in the Graveyard. And I love a graveyard, don't you? Today I'm at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Princess Anne, Maryland. That's in Somerset County, the furthest south you can go in Maryland, and it is on the eastern shore of the Chesapeake Bay. Now, this is a very old cemetery. Actually, it's a graveyard, and the church, which is located behind me just over there, St. Andrew's, was established in 1770 here. It was built, rather. The parish was established earlier than that. The two names behind me on these markers are Elizabeth Upshur Teackle and Littleton Dennis Teackle. And Littleton Dennis Teackle was a wealthy man. He made his fortune in shipping and timber, a kind of commodity trade, which even then was very volatile. And he's known for something very important in this town. If you ever say his name, he's immediately equated with some particular thing. It's only 2 blocks away. Let's go see what it is. It'll make my story make a lot more sense. So this is what Littleton Dennis Teackle was famous for in Princess Anne. This is Teackle Mansion. And he and his wife Elizabeth took 17 years to build it. Now, as I mentioned, he was in the shipping trade, timber and shipping, and the Minokan River used to come right up here to the edge of the property. So it was ideally located. But he only had it for about 9 years before he went completely bankrupt. They lost everything they had, including Teackle Mansion. And an interesting fun fact, it was never a family home after that. This was by 1830, he'd lost it. And since 1830, no one's ever lived in it as a family. Now, just on the side, a little side note, this mansion fell into disrepair. It was cut up and used for apartments. Lots of things happened to it, but there's a nonprofit here in Princess Anne that raised over $1 million to restore it back to its grandeur. And inside it's just as beautiful as outside thanks to them, and it is open to the public if you want to tour. It's also a main property on our Princess Anne ghost tour, which is known as our most disturbing tour because of the harsh content. And what we focus on in Teackle Mansion is a lady who's been seen walking across those top windows at night, a lady who has been seen in apparitions of visitors, a lady who has appeared in paranormal investigations, and the stories and the lore about Teackle Mansion and possibly the spirits of the Teackles remaining behind is very old, generations old. And some of these stories are stored in the local folklore collection. So that was Littleton Dennis Teackle's contribution to Princess Anne. Now back to the graveyard. So now that you know the contribution of Littleton Dennis Teackle and his wife Elizabeth, let me tell you a little bit about why I picked these graves to highlight. You can't really see the dates from here, but I will zoom in. These are very, very attractive markers and typical of the Victorian era. Let's look. You can see here, this is the tombstone of Littleton Dennis Teackle with the weeping willow at the top. A simple marker says he was born September 29th, 1777, died November 20th, 1850. His wife's marker is a little bit more worn, but still matches. There's Elizabeth's name, born in 1783, died in 1835. And they sit side by side in a very prominent spot in this graveyard. In fact, if you're walking by the church on the sidewalk in town, you can look right over that wall and see their graves. So why did I pick their graves? I picked their graves because they're not buried here. In fact, I don't think anybody is really certain where these two ended up in burial. It turns out as I explained when I was talking about Teackle Mansion, that Littleton Dennis Teackle was a very wealthy man, but the markets were very volatile. And in the end, he lost his fortune and lost his mansion. Now, his wife Elizabeth died 4 years after that. Some people say of a broken heart. He died years after that. But his estate was valued when he died at less than $25. So he really was without any money. His daughter married well, and she would have had money. Nobody really knows why they weren't really memorialized in death the way prominent people were. But the local community got together and erected these monuments to remember them by and their contributions. But the bodies are not here. They figure that they're probably somewhere in this graveyard because this would have been the likely community where they would have participated in worship. But it is a great tribute to people that have contributed, even though it's really not marking the grave in the graveyard. Where they are, we don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining me today in Princess Anne. This is Mindie Burgoyne. This is Fridays in the Graveyard, and I will see you next week.